Welcome back, everybody. It's Rama from Junk Journal Divas. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to my channel. Today, well, I have to apologize because I had a big long video making these leaves. I wanted to make some more die cuts, and I realized that it was not recording, unfortunately. So I'm going to talk to you about how I made them, and I'm going to talk about using all the different kinds of sprays. So I just grabbed these because they're kind of the same color, and I wanted to show you. So we've got, this is all from Tim Holtz, and by the way, I get all of this stuff from YANETTE. I love to support my crafty friends, and she has a Facebook group where she sells all Tim Holtz stuff and more. I just got a whole bunch of the spritzes because that's the newest type of spray from him. Okay, so we've got the spray stain, which is just color. It's like a spray dye. Okay, I don't know if you can see these colors to compare. And then we got the oxide. Now these are different colors. I don't have the same ones, but the oxide you have to shake, and whatever the color is, if it's a color of ink that you like by Tim Holtz, this color when it dries is very, I guess, muted is the word that I would use. Another thing about the oxide, it reacts with water. So if you take a surface and spray this down, and then usually what I do is you can use a paintbrush, or I will just spray some water on my fingers and flick it like this, and it will react with the spray that you have on your paper. You can also put the oxide spray down first, and you could always spray a stain on top of it, and it will kind of react with it. So I used those. I also wanted to pull out my spritz and the mica. Okay, so both of these have mica. The spritz is kind of like it says, it's just a spritz. It is not quite as concentrated. The mica is, they come in these smaller bottles, and this is pretty concentrated. So this is good to do just like a splatter. The spritz, now this can kind of go on top of a page, like if you just have a plain coffee dyed paper or something and you just want to add a little bit of something, this is a great thing to use, the spritz. You can also use this for a background. Like when I was making these, I would, if I wanted to use an oxide, I would start with that first. The oxide or the spritz, I would start with that first, and then I would just layer up different colors. So I hope I gave you a little bit of tips talking about the differences between these. I'm going to show you some of the results. Now, when I was spraying my papers before I put them through my die cut machine, I just grabbed this piece of paper, and I was doing all my sprays on here, and I wanted to show you some of my leaves. So let me get some different ones here. Now this one I could actually do on either side. I think this is the same. So you can see just a whole bunch of different layers there. So this was brown paper that I started with. And then, okay, so this one, brown paper I started with also. And for this one, I can see I started with bundled sage, if you know that color. So see how it's just, I mean, it covered up this dark brown. And that is the oxide, bundled sage oxide. So you see what I mean by the very muted kind of dull, but it is full, like kind of almost full coverage. And then on top of that, I would flick it with water, and you can kind of see some shimmer in there where it's actually probably this one. This one is, the whole thing is very shiny, which leads me to believe I started with a distress spray on top of here, and then I added a red mica. I believe this was this really soft yellow color paper. This was a bright orange that I started with. So this one I just added, and it's a thick paper, so you can see some of the punch outs did not come out. See, there's another one. This one almost looks like I started with, maybe I put a bunch of spritz down, because it's not a super bright color, but the whole thing is kind of shiny, but it's not like boom. Like this one, the red part here is boom. You can see the red shiny, and even on here. Okay, and same thing for over here, and I think these are my favorites. I really love the way these turned out. So let me see that. This is that yellow colored paper that I used. So I did those. I also tried with some fabrics, but they're beautiful, beautiful fabrics. I don't know if this whole thing is would be considered zari, which I know is the thread stitching that is gold. But anyway, that's what these fabrics are. And so all I did, this is just a shopping bag, actually a really thin one, brown paper, and all I did was just put a little bit of glue, and I used my fine tip bottle, because otherwise you have a glob of glue and it will show through the fabric. So I just put that down, put the fabric on top, and then let it dry and put these through my die cut machine. So I've got those also. So yesterday, I just have to say, I was playing for 8 hours and I made 2 tags. Now this is unheard of for me because everything was already printed. I just had to get into creating. Like I started with the spraying, and this took up so much time just playing around with the colors. But these are the tags that I made. I also went in, if you can see her eyeballs, like her glasses, I used glossy accents. This is also from YANETTE. It's a Ranger product. And all this, it dries clear, obviously here, and it has like a little raised 3-dimensional when it dries. So these are all House Whimsy, the digitals, and then I added my leaves, and I just wanted to just maybe add some textiles to this. I need to put my holes in the top there, and I just did a leaf stamp on the back. I have some more to make here, and then I thought we could meet back up and put some little snippets and things from my packages I wanted to play with. So this one says, "Yep, it's looking like sweater weather to me." And I just thought this was funny with the her glasses. And I had to make my own sentiments to go with these funny pictures. So I will have those in my shop also for fall. Oh, and also this is food packaging, a cereal box. So this is the other one. You can see my leaves again. I cut out my images, put it on black paper, and then cut it out again because I like that outline. So this little boy just looking for my next pile of leaves. I also did his glasses with the glossy accents. So that's what I want to do today. I'm going to make some more of these tags, and then we will meet up with my embellishments to decorate. So let's get started. Guys, I made these little swatches. I wanted to show you some of the sprays. So this is starting with the oxide. This is the most flat, I would say. Moving on to the spray stain, then the spritz, and then the mica stain. So again, the oxide is just very flat looking, but it does have good coverage if you want to cover a paper. And then the spray stain, it's not quite as flat. It has good coverage. You can also, if you want to add a little water to this to spread it out easier, you can do that with pretty much anything, although it will react with the oxide. Then we have the spritz. And I used like 3 or 4 squirts for each one of these. Okay, and then last, we have the mica stain. So you can see it is more coverage, I would say, than this one, as far as the color, the mica, and the spritz. So if you see what I mean, if you're using the spritz, it's not as bright and bold. So if you just did like 1 spritz on, you know, a paper that you have in your journal, just to add a little something. So now what I wanted to do, I'm gonna put these aside. I just wanted to show like a couple of things. And you guys, I'm not trying to act like I'm a professional here, so I don't want to come across that way at all. I am literally, like I said on my YouTube channel, I just love to experiment and share the things that I learn. And I love when you guys, when my viewers share things that you've learned also. This is oxide on these, and I just let them dry. And now I want to add some stuff on top just to kind of show you, because when I use the sprays together, like I said, I usually start with the oxide. Let's try the water first. I'm going to turn it this way. Well, let's turn it sideways. Then I always have this at my desk. It's just a spray bottle with water. Normally what I do is just spray like 3 pumps on my fingers, and then I splatter. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this away from my desk. Now, the other thing is I usually do this when it's more wet. This has completely dried. Let me add a little bit more. Okay, let me dry it a little bit. So you can see here like where the water went. Even like here you can see all the dots. So it kind of creates those little cells. Let's now add the stain spray. And again, this is just, it's like a dye. Oh, another thing, make sure after you use these, you wipe off the lid, the top. Ooh. These are really difficult to to know exactly how they're going to spray out also. Okay, so that just added like another layer there. Okay, I'm going to put the bundled sage on top of this. I think you'll be able to tell, you know, the color, since it's a different color. Okay, so you can see those areas where the oxide went. It's just flat, and it definitely flattened out. You know, there's not any shimmer really going on there. Little spots way underneath there I can see. So this is not really dry, but it's dry enough. And I just wanted to show you, so I covered this part here. And then after it dried, you can see over here, you can still see some shimmer, and here there is no shimmer. I'm going to do the oxide with a little bit of spritz on top. Then I'm going to do the oxide with a little stain spray. Let me do the spritz. And then some stain spray. Okay, this is the one with the spritz on top. And then we have the oxide with the stain spray. You can see how the color changed. The stain spray changed a lot. And that's kind of what the oxide does. It just tends to kind of flatten it out a bit. Okay, so let's get back to our tags. You guys, these are so cute. I'm loving them. So I did put grommets in. So this one, every pumpkin needs a little spice. I just love this. You know what? Since we're doing these together, I am going to go ahead and get my glossy accents. And we are going to do her glasses. So I am just, yep, I need to open up the tip here, so I'm just going to use a needle and poke down in there. And then just get a little bit out and then use the nozzle to kind of spread it around a bit. Now this stuff, you cannot really heat dry it. You got to let it air dry. You could put it in front of a fan or something, but you just can't use the heat. Okay, and then we've got this one that I already showed you. I put the grommets in. And then I have Fall is the Time for New Beginnings. I'm debating whether or not I want to outline my leaves in the back there. Leaves in my hair and I don't care. You can see I layered up a whole bunch of my leaves, of course. If you don't like fall, you can leave me alone. And again, I put some leaves there. So I think for these, I am just going to put some fibers on these. And then for my next set of tags, or however many I make, I'm going to play around with more textiles. I'm trying to use different things on all of these tags. You guys, another thing that I put in my shop, and again, I always get extras and put the stuff that I use in my shop. A bunch of fuzzy yarn like this, because I love mixing them for tag toppers. So I got this kind of gold one, got the bright, I just grabbed these. That bright one's kind of cool. Let's see here, what do I want to use? So I grabbed a little bit of these the gold leaves. And then when I have a whole bunch of fibers like this, I always twist it in the middle so it's nice and tight. So, and then I make a little point. It just makes it easier to poke through. Now, usually I can just get it through. Sometimes I gotta poke it. And then also when you pull it through the other side, if you twist it, it makes it a lot easier to find the center. And then you can just pull them up through. Just a random little trick. And then a lot of times if I want to add something like this, so what I will do, take a piece of like thread, something skinnier. So I've got this skinny thing, and then I will just kind of tie it around here. let me see, we can lay this down here. And I'm only doing this because if that is going through the hole, it makes this part really bulky. So that's the only reason I'm doing this. So here's a look at my finished tags. I love the way these turned out. I think they're super cute. So these take care of my second prompt, which is autumn leaves for Autumn Divas. And thank you so much for joining me. Stay tuned for some more crafty adventures.